right, this is Okay, hi everyone, good evening. Good evening everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. This is just an overwhelming attendance, so thank you all for taking the time to come learn about this interesting project that we're dealing with in the borough. I'm Frank Zammataro. I'm the president and the co-founder of the Mendham Alliance for Preservation and Conservation. And we're going to walk through this presentation and quickly. We really want to get to your questions and answers. So Chris and I are going to walk through some information. We'll ask to hold your questions to the end so that we can handle them one at a time. We have a mic here, which you can use, and I'll make sure that everyone hears the questions as well. So thank you again, and we'll get started. Oh, by the way, I just want to thank the Mendham Alliance crew that has helped put this together. This was not just one person. This was a group of at least 10 people working and speaking with each other twice a week over the weeks before this. And so it's been a great team effort. And the one thing I've seen occur is we went from a group to a team. So, and that's what is continuing to grow. So I hope you all will become part of that team. So let's get started. So I gave you a little background. I'll give you a little more on the Alliance. We started in 2022, and it was in response to the upzoning in the township of the Irene Springtree property. And we opposed that. We hired legal experts, and we opposed that upzoning. Now, it was upzoned, but there were some changes there, and most importantly, there was a change in attitude in the township. And I am hoping that similar things occur from this initiative as well. And we're not about stopping development, we're about balancing development. It's a very special place that we live in here. 6 million people get drinking water from both the township and the borough, from the Passaic and the Raritan River. In the state of New Jersey, it's 9 million people. It's 2/3 of the population in the state. So it's a very sacred responsibility I believe we have to maintain the ecology here. We're going to cover the environmental impact and stormwater management as one of our main issues here, on-site circulation and safety concerns with this project, as well as the height of the project, but more from the perspective of how it's being calculated. And it will be, in fact, the highest structure in the town. And the key takeaway, because we've been hearing a lot of this, everyone says it's a done deal. It's not a done deal. It might be a done deal from the borough's perspective and the Joint Land Use Board's perspective, but it's not a done deal from a group like the MAPC feeling this activity. So it's not a done deal. That's the main takeaway. So you may know some of this already. I'm going to repeat it for people who don't know. So this project is proposed as a 5-story, 75-unit apartment complex. It's going to be located behind the King's Supermarket. There will be 15 affordable housing units, and this is part of a history of a litigious builder who has sued the borough numerous times over the past 5 to 7 years at least, if not longer, to basically have this area zoned to allow this complex to be developed. And 60 apartments. That's 130 bedrooms. So it's a big project. And again, we're trying to make sure that whatever is built there, because there was the former tennis club, it fits in the character of our very charming community. So I'll give you a little history. I'm not going to go into a lot of depth here, and I'm happy, and some of the other members of our team are happy to talk to you more about this. But you can see there's been development that's been going on, starting with the sewage system, over $10 million being spent on increasing the capacity of that system in the borough, and then a number of lawsuits which led to a very pivotal time period right in the middle of COVID. Same thing happened in the township with the upzoning of the spring tree. Like, nobody was going to meetings. Everyone was scared to death. And the Zoom wasn't even set up at that time. So something happened between February 2020 and April 2020 where the lawsuit occurred from the builder and ultimately forced the town to do what's called overlay zoning in 2 locations. The Daytop St. John the Baptist Episcopal location off of Main Street, as well as the King's Supermarket Center or the Mendham Village Center, and overlay zoning it to be residential. So this is what led to this. And then there were a number of other activities along the way, and another lawsuit involving pushback from the Joint Land Use Board regarding the completeness of the application having to do with the cell tower. And that was settled as part of a consent order in the courts. And so just in August, the application for this project was deemed complete. And that began the process now of the hearings that will ultimately decide what goes there and how big and what is the impact as well. So environmental, this is just a rendering of what it might look like from the Patriots' path behind. But what you have happening here is this is wetlands. It was always wetlands. It's likely that the Mendham Tennis Club that was put there should probably have never been put there. But it was, all right? And it was before the laws had changed. So now you have a situation where you have a pre-existing structure that sits literally right on top of the highest topographical springs of the North Branch of the Raritan River. There are 2 springs that are vigorous. Even during this period of drought, you can see those springs just spitting out water that eventually becomes the Raritan River. And that's 2 million people's drinking water, and that goes across not only the borough, but the township, and then to many other towns as well. So we're very, very concerned about stormwater runoff. The plan is incomplete. Now, the borough engineer has highlighted that to the builder. And what we have to avoid is conditional approval. The stormwater management plan needs to be approved and validated prior to the approval of this project. So I urge you to think more about the impact on that wetland and potentially damaging that ecosystem. And Chris will talk more about this shortly. So just to give you a little more sense, this is the township here. It's a bit of a horseshoe around the borough in the center. This circle is in fact the highest topographical point of the North Branch. It's right in the King's shopping center. And I said all the rest. You can see how it branches out through the township and the borough, and the orange represents the wetlands associated with the river. All right, so Chris. Yeah, I said to Chris earlier, I don't know how many of you remember Marlon Perkins, Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom. He's our Marlon Perkins.
Thanks, mate. I hope I look a little younger than you did. Well, this is, I feel like I'm on a game show here. It's Mike, but and I dressed up for you all. Hope you can see that. Thanks for coming tonight. This is really special, and I'm one of the, founding board directors of MAPC, which is a great organization right here in our town. I'm going to talk about what I see near the King Shopping Center, and I've shared those before on the About Mendham Facebook groups, and also when I do my talks in town, but I'm going to share them here tonight, and these are pretty special animals. All right, so these are baby barred owls that were born near the center, near that shopping center. These are threatened species in New Jersey, and threatened because of loss of habitat. So we have that right behind King's is protected wetlands. I'm going to put that in quotes, right? What is often forgotten is that animals like the barred animal, they are very sensitive to disturbance. It doesn't have to be within where they live, but it can be around it. So there will be construction. Once it's built, You'll have a big building there, you'll have lights, you'll have people in and out who live there. That will disturb these animals, and especially during breeding season, they will leave, they will get stressed. And unfortunately for the barred owls, their territories are small. They don't have 60-mile radius, it may be maybe 2 to 3 miles, if that. This particular family, it's a generation of owls that have been in this area for 30 plus years. Right? So these are cute little guys. So you can just imagine. Now they are up and down right by the center. And some of you have probably seen them on the path as you walk around. They're used to us, they're our neighbors. They live with us. We leave them alone, they leave us alone. So really, that's that I'm concerned about. So one of the things about Mendham and why I started taking photographs of wildlife here is because of what we have in this town. And because of the open spaces that we have, the wooded wetlands that we have, that's why these animals are here. That's why they're native to New Jersey, because they grew up here thousands of years, or millennia, really. I would reach out, I'm in conservation, I would reach out to my scientists and say, hey, what is this species that I just photographed? And immediately they would say, where are you? I'd say, well, I'm in Mendham. Is that right? And they're like, that animal's not supposed to be there. So we have had numerous, I'm not talking about just barred, but animals in general, we have had numerous animals that really they're not supposed to be here because they're not documented as being here. This town has had the very first documented case of, or I don't say case, it sounds negative, but documented sightings, like that, sightings of merlins nesting in New Jersey. That hasn't happened before, not documented anyway, and it was right here on Main Street, not that long ago. And there have been numerous other species spotted all throughout town, and the thing is, they're thriving here. It's not just one, it's a bunch. We probably have 4 to 5 different families of barred owls in town. That's amazing. I don't tell people where those are, I'm trusting all of you, because if they find out, these guys will be swamped with photographers. So really special. We should take that step to do the right thing and start protecting our native species. This is an oasis here in town. And we're all here for the same reason, the habitat, right? It's not just them, it's us too. So something else I'll share. These are red-shouldered hawks. They are endangered. That's riskier than threatened. They are thriving in our town. They need wooded wetlands to survive, especially when they nest. They are very, very smart animals. There are less than 200 nests known in New Jersey. We probably have 3, 4, 5 in Mendham and just around us. Pretty cool guy, right? It's a baby red-shouldered hawk. So, and I mean by thriving, when I first started spotting these, and we have some friends in the audience who actually had these nests on their property, there were maybe 2, 3 in town. We have 15 to 20 now because of the offspring. They've been surviving. It's one of those guys right there. That's amazing. That's amazing. And lastly, and there's a lot of other things out there that but I'm going to jump into this one. That's a bobcat. We have bobcats in Mendham.
We do.
Yeah. And they've been here for a very long time. So this one, this one wasn't seen near Kings, but we have on video one there. Very recently, over the summer. So there's a family of bobcats that is further back in the woods. And there's been some recent construction, which has disturbed them. So they're coming down here. They probably came down quite a bit before, because they hunt. They have their hunting grounds. But now they're being dispersed because of us being there. That's okay. We can do, as Frank pointed out, we're not against development. We want responsible development. If we know these animals are there, we can do it better where we don't disturb them. Maybe when it's not during breeding season, or we just make less noise, or whatever it is. We can figure it out. So that's what I talk about. That's what I'm going to focus on. I've reported these animals to the groups in New Jersey that protect them, because that's what I'll do. And I will point these out to wherever we go with this. It's important. There's other things I'll just point out to let Frank, I know we don't talk about all of these type of things tonight, but Frank talked about these springs. where there are vernal pools all along that back area. And vernal pools feed or help thousands of species survive. And that whole area is just pocket full.
Could you
Yes.
explain exactly what a vernal pool is?
Yeah, thank you. A vernal pool is, think of it as like a temporary pond. It's pretty small. It could be the size of this table. It could be the size of this room, but it's seasonal. So basically during the drier months, it dries up. And it's not fed by spring, and there's no exit. And the idea is that there's no predatory fish that can go in there to eat the animals that are living there. So like amphibians, they love it, tadpoles, things like that. Other little crustaceans, anything that a fish would eat up, they don't have to worry about it there. And then that feeds animals like a bobcat that might feed on an amphibian, or the red-shouldered hawk, or the barred owls. They love crustaceans. So everything's connected. And if a large construction goes in place there, that puts pressure on everything. I'm also concerned about the community. But the fact that just in the past 3 to 4 years, these animals have been seen here and they're doing so well, just give them a chance. So, I think is that all I have?
That's the last one.
That is. Thank you.
And Chris, as well as a number of other members of the borough, as well as the township, have worked with the MAPC and the Raritan Headwaters Association to identify vernal pools back there. We've done survey work behind the King's Center and the wetlands that are there. And we have identified at least 3 back in that area, one of which is precariously close to the building site as well. Okay, so I'm going to move on to safety and on-site circulation, a very, very big concern. In fact, the next Joint Land Use Board meeting, which is happening next Tuesday, I believe that's the 12th. I think it's at 7 p.m. and I do believe it's at the Grace Lutheran Church. They will be completing the builder's testimony for the application. They will be completing the traffic expert's testimony. And it behooves you, if this is a concern to you, to come listen to that testimony and hear some cross-examination that we will be presenting back in response to those questions. And we're hoping that presentation. And what we're hoping is that the issues that have been already laid out in the borough engineer's reports will be addressed prior to approval. So the concern here is primarily the eastern side of the shopping center where Piantino's is. And this is the main ingress and egress for emergency. And as you can see with these 2 photographs, there is constantly delivery trucks that are coming into that location. This needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed now. And so we're hoping, again, that we will see some changes in the on-site circulation plan from this builder. This is also a safety issue for people who might have emergencies and the need for the trucks to get to the fire trucks to get to the back if there is some kind of an emergency at the proposed facility. And every second counts, especially if it's a fire emergency. So this is another area of concern of ours. And then the last one is the height. So it's proposed at 5 stories. Right now, we're concerned, this is just the before and after, so to speak, and so we lose that site, that beautiful, mountain in the background with all the trees, and I just took that just a few weeks ago. But this is ultimately what you'll end up seeing from the parking lot instead of that. And the question ultimately is, how was this height calculated? There's some question. Your engineers, the borough engineer's report has raised questions about how was this height calculated. It may require another variance if it wasn't calculated correctly. The water table in this area is only 13 inches below the surface. So it is an extremely wet site, and they are planning on raising the site for this building by about 5 feet in the current plan. So height and visual impact is a concern of ours as well. So we need your help. We have already hired an attorney, and we are gearing up for very professional cross-examination to the builders' experts, and we are gearing up to provide our own experts and testimony to counter their claims. And those experts include environment, they may include an engineer to look at the substrate of where this building is going to be placed, and we have lots of concerns about that may or may not be fully articulated as part of the hearing. So we're going to make sure all of that information is on the record. Community outreach and awareness. So you will see postcards. If you live in the borough, we're starting with the borough, you will see postcards in your mailbox very soon. We're looking to raise funds. You will probably see lawn sign campaign. And again, the professional experts on the stormwater safety as well, and the environmental impact. That is what the postcard looks like. Like I said, you'll see that in the weeks ahead. And that's the full 5 stories there of the building. There is also a proposed exotic auto showroom and service facility as well. That will be, I guess, in front of it, in between King's and the apartments, there will be this auto services and sales center as well. We built a new landing page. So on all the material that you see here, the QR codes that you can take a picture with your phone, will take you to this new landing page and kind of explain some of the things in greater detail that we're discussing tonight. So please visit it and please donate. And so this is our call to action, all right? We are 501c3, so any donations that you provide are tax deductible. Please help us. We need volunteers. I was talking to somebody earlier. We need a MailChimp expert, somebody who's going to help us blanket email addresses and ask for help and support. And social media we'll be using a lot as well. It's real important to know that this is a team that is growing, and you can all become part of that team. In addition, we are very, very fortunate to have 2 other organizations supporting this initiative with us. The Raritan Headwaters Association, which has the responsibility for protecting this waterway and the wetlands and from here all the way downstream, and also the New Jersey Highlands Coalition. And my special guest, the speaker tonight, I'd like to introduce Julia Summers, who's the Executive Director of New Jersey Highlands.
Thank you, Frank. So, do you all know that you live in the Highlands? Yes. Mendham Township and Mendham Borough are fully in the Highlands, no matter what you are told. And one of the things down the road we can talk about is conformance to the Highlands Regional Master Plan, which is in the great interest of both communities. But why does the New Jersey Highlands Coalition get involved? Well, the Highlands is a big place. There are 88 towns in the Highlands, spread across 7 counties. And the way that we really know what's going on and impact what's going on is because people protect the places they love. And we support the organizations, the grassroots organizations that come up because of issues like this in Mendham. We have member organizations all over the Highlands that are involved in issues in their community. And our role is to help Frank succeed, is to help MAPC succeed. So they're a lot more sophisticated than most of our grassroots organizations. Most of our grassroots organizations don't have 501c3s. They need the help to figure out what the land use process is and figure out how they can impact it. And my experience is, well, I've been doing this sort of work since I was at the Great Swamp Watershed Association for 16 years, and I've now been at the Highlands Coalition for 17 years. Shh, don't tell anybody how old I am. But I've been doing this for a long time, and my experience is, and continues to be, that when you give people the tools to get involved, it gives them confidence, and it makes them effective, and it makes them enthusiastic, And I tell people, you know what will happen if you don't get involved? If you do get involved, you may easily at least make a difference. And if you're fortunate and persistent and don't give up, because it's not a done deal, you will succeed. So I'm just here to go rah rah to Frank. And he's doing a fantastic job, I have to tell you. He truly is the Energizer Bunny. But having a full room here, we have one of my favorite community organizations is an organization in White Township in Warren County that took on one of the biggest warehouse developers in Pennsylvania that wanted to build 6 million square feet of warehouse space right next to the Delaware River, more than 10 miles from Route 80, more than 10 miles from 78, and it truly was David versus Goliath. 5 years after that first email went around, the state of New Jersey purchased that property, but only because he still didn't have his approvals, which is why they were able to do that. So they hung in there through a pandemic. Every case is unique, so don't think that you're going to expect to be like them. But my point is, if you don't get involved, you know what will happen. So it's fantastic that you're all here. They all wore orange t-shirts. So for every meeting, there was a sea of orange t-shirts out there in front of the planning board or the township committee. Maybe you can pick a color and all wear your t-shirts. But we're here to support Frank, to make sure that MAPC has every tool that they need and to succeed. So thank you all for coming.
And Julia's right. What's happening with this particular project and the article that you may have picked up at the table, the Builder's Remedy, all right? It's an abuse of the Affordable Housing Act. Affordable housing is good. We want more affordable housing, but we don't want builders taking advantage of that law to force towns to change their zoning, and then they only have to supply 20% of what they build as affordable. So recently, the state of New Jersey announced what the new quotas are. Currently, the quota for the borough is 130 units. Just multiply that times 5, and that's the number of potential units that could potentially come into play in the borough. So the Builder's Remedy issue is a statewide issue. It's a state of 9 million people that they have to develop 230,000 affordable units, and it's one of the few states that has that mandate. So this is happening everywhere, and you can see it. You go into some towns to go out to dinner, and you can't get into the town anymore because of the traffic. My wife and I experienced that in Metuchen not too long ago. So these are some upcoming dates, and I ask you to stay truly engaged. Come to the Joint Land Use Board meeting. The next one is on November 12th. This project may accelerate. They may establish special meetings. They may end up doing 2 meetings a month, maybe 3 meetings a month, in order to get through the process. The borough leadership is under a lot of pressure. They're very nervous about losing control of their destiny with the affordable housing. And this builder is extremely litigious, and it's very, very possible that he can get aggressive again legally. And so the borough is compelled right now with the various consent orders from the various judges to move this thing along. Our anticipation, beyond the traffic expert that will be presenting on the 12th, you'll hear from their architect, their planner. There is no environmental expert currently scheduled, but I anticipate that potentially also playing a role. So this could be done in just a few meetings. So I urge you to come to the meetings and have your voice be heard, along with the MAPC.
Where are the meetings to be held?
This next meeting is at the Grace Lutheran Church, their big open auditorium.
Can I just ask a quick question? Can you go to the quota, please, just so I understand that? So we have a quota, we have to have 100 and how many affordable housing
The
units?
current quota that was just released about 2 weeks ago, it's about 130 new affordable units.
133.
133, thank you, Bob.
And they can be 20% of new build? How does that work?
Well, if a builder,
Mhm.
as this builder did,
Right.
sues the town,
Mhm.
they only have to put in 20% of what they build as affordable. So the worst case scenario is somebody comes in and says, you need 133, I want to put in, multiply that times 5, 600 plus units.
But Frank, just to clarify, it doesn't have to go that way.
No, it doesn't,
You can
and
work with nonprofit organizations.
that is correct. So your town has the opportunity to promote 100% affordable projects, which would in fact reduce that number down. So, but that's a worst case scenario.
So if we promoted a 100% use plan in a park and did, in some land that we own, and did 133 units, then we don't have to let anybody else build.
You're, yes,
So why would we, this is gonna happen, right? We're not gonna get out of affordable use housing, right?
that's correct.
So why wouldn't the borough and the town, if they are worried about their destiny, put forward a plan to do that? And 75 unit, 5-story building in the middle of town is ridiculous. It's,
And there are certain towns in New Jersey that have added affordable units incrementally over the years. There are certain towns that have not. The borough happens to be one of those towns. So now, you're managing to crisis mode,
right, so
and
the
you're now
board,
being
the
presented with...
board stuck us into a place, right?
Well-
Management.
You can say that, but at the end of the day,
Right.
this is the situation you're dealing with today. Tomorrow, it could be something else, and in fact, that's a good lead-in. Daytop could be next, all right? So the Daytop, there are 40 acres, approximately 40 acres up there. You have the Daytop facility, the old school building, and you have the retreat house, St. Marguerite's, and the convent. You can see part of it is in the borough, and part of it is in it's in the borough and part's in the township. These 27 acres are currently in contract, and they're doing survey work, and there could be a large facility that is eventually proposed there as well.
What do we
So-
need
What
during
sort of
contract?
facility?
Living, residential,
Oh,
with affordable,
Yeah,
yes.
20%. Is it it's the same guy?
No, I don't believe it's the same guy, but this is under contract, and they're doing survey work and trying to determine how they're gonna deal with septic and things of that sort. So this could be next,
Can you repeat the questions that are being,
yes.
please?
Yes, so the question was, is it the same builder? No, it's not the same builder. And we believe it's a real estate development entity that is now entertaining to develop this project.
So have they closed on the land? You said on contract.
I don't know the details of that, so let's just hold that question, we're gonna come right to that now, okay? So this is my closer, all right? My wife and I moved here 10 years ago. We saw it, we've lived it, we love it, and now we want to save it. So we're hoping that all of you feel the same way. And so now, if you do have questions, what I'd like to ask is that you either want to speak loudly, or I'll repeat it, or you can come up and there's a mic here as well. So,
I just want to add something you were saying. So I just want to add really quickly, heard Amalia talk about, like, if we met that number of 133 units, we wouldn't have these big processes,
Right.
these big complexes. So there is a belief out there by some towns that the only way to meet their mandate or their quota is to attract a builder to do this, but there's a belief that builders don't want to do this because they're not going to make any money.
Right.
Right, so this is the quandary, right? And just, you can read articles all throughout New Jersey where this is happening. There's one about Roxbury, and if you calculate what they're going to be given, the number, it's 5,000 units. Right? So we talk about what's happening in Mendham, but Frank also alluded to what's happening around Mendham. So it isn't just here. Outside of here, it's bigger. So think about that. I mean, I've been here since 1998. I'm from New York City. I've been here since 1998. I go to Morristown, Menon Arena, I don't know where I am. And it's continuing. It's spreading everywhere. I go to towns that I was just at 2 years ago, and I'm like, what happened? And it 206 South. Wow. And there isn't a lot of thought to infrastructure. It's like you keep saying to yourselves, how is this possible? Well, this is what's happening. So it's up to us as a community to stand up and push back and come to the meetings. Show support for our administration as well. They're under a lot of pressure. And ask questions and dig, research, find environmental groups that are into this, like us. And I mean, we are a part of your community. We live here, as Frank said. So we have a vested interest in this, and we're absolutely for affordable housing. That's fine, but it can be done in a responsible way. It really can. So I talked enough. For a question?
You can come up
Come
and
right
just
up.
speak it, whatever's easiest for
You
everybody.
can repeat this. Does the DEP have to look at the endangered species? Is there anything new since they gave a permit?
So the question is, does the DEP have to look at the endangered species? Has anything changed since they gave a permit? That's an excellent question because, I was a little stunned by that since I do talk with them. And when I have seen this was approved, the first thing I did was raise my hand saying, how is that approved so quickly? Questions that I had, and I'll be a little transparent, questions I had were, did they walk the property? Do they know what's really there? Have they seen that the animals were there just last week? Because usually they go by a data report, and that could be 20 years old. And they're busy. We'll give them a little bit of the depth. They're very busy, they're short-staffed, they're going to put stuff through. So again, that's why it's up to us to question that. So anything that we're not comfortable with, you raise your hand. And it's going to be an uphill battle, but if there's enough of us, and we get organized, and we start to probe a little bit, it puts pressure on that, and then they start to dig deeper too, and then we find out, oh, well, this person actually now agrees with us, this person agrees with us, we get stuff out in the paper, and so forth in the appearance. Other towns may join in as well.
I have a question regarding, if people donate to Save Mendham, to MAPC, and I know in the township, when people have gotten an attorney, then it precluded them, it prevented them from asking questions at the meetings. So I want to just clarify that if in fact people donate, will that then stop them from being able to approach the mic?
I'll repeat the question. So the question is, if you donate to the MAPC, will that prevent you from speaking at a town meeting if we hire an attorney?
Because in the township, that has been the position during some of the board meetings, because in essence, the attorney is representing that group of people. So I just want to get clarity on that, as people consider donating or not.
Now, that's a really good question.
So the MAPC has an attorney that is providing advice and guidance right now and is not coming to the meetings and representing us at this time. That will happen during the testimony portion of the hearings. And at that particular time, MAPC directors, like myself, like Chris, can no longer speak. The attorney will speak for us. That does not mean that the public cannot get up and ask professionally articulated cross-examination questions to the experts and also provide testimony. But you also have to realize that there are rules. When you are a member of the public for testimony, for the testimony portion of the hearings, you're only allowed 3 minutes. Cross-examination is different. If you are asking good cross-examination questions as a member of the public and not kind of going off into this tangent or that tangent, you have unlimited time. That's the law. What some joint land use boards do is, because of the unprofessional nature of public cross-examination, they will sometimes, for efficiency, shut that down. So right now, we are in the builder's testimony portion of the project. We are providing professional cross-examination and review of their testimony, and at a certain point, we will have the opportunity to bring our attorney and bring our experts to provide professional rebuttal to the expert testimony of the builder's team.
Go quick question, where can I go? You had the list of lawsuits and what transpired. Where can I go to get all that information and read it?
Okay, so,
Write the
we,
question.
yeah, where can I go to get all this information that we have uncovered? Our team is really lucky. One of your neighbors in the borough, can I say your name? Frank Lubo. Frank Lubo is the historian of, yes. Frank Lubo is the historian of this project that we have undertaken. He has written,
Sorry, I'm having trouble with the connection.
that's Siri. We have requested documents. Frank has gone back years requesting documentation, which we have used as part of establishing the basis for our opposition. So you can contact us
Yep.
directly, and it's, we have a lot of it. It's on a Google Drive. I'm happy to share that information with you. A lot of this information is also on Mendham Borough's Joint Land Use Board website. They have to publicly put that out there so that it's available to the public. Some of it may not make sense to you because it's technical, but you can self-teach yourself a lot of this.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, please, right here.
I've noticed that Mendham Borough is not being too transparent as opposed to putting out, I mean, they let us know when the meetings are, but if I wasn't on Facebook, I wouldn't know it. Is there something we can do to get Mendham Borough to become more transparent so you're going to get more people involved once they realize this?
Yeah, the question is there some way to compel the borough to be more transparent with their proceedings? There is a law, and they are obliged to not only allow people to speak, but also they're obliged to publish minutes of meetings. We have found gaps in minutes from that date back. We have found gaps. So this transparency issue is a big one. And you should go to the borough committee or borough council meetings and say something. If you don't feel as though you are being heard or you are seeing the information on a reasonably timely basis, you should say something. Do you want to add something, Julie?
Well, it is very valuable, even though this is, and technically they are independent. The land use board is not part of the town council, but it is, I can promise you, that land use boards are perfectly political. It is a myth to think that they are not, even though technically, yes, they are. But a sea of people turning up has an influence on a land use board. But it's absolutely important to go to the council meeting and tell them that the land use board is not being transparent and is not sharing information and make it easy for the public to know what is going on. So absolutely do that. Also, I just wanted to address what Duarte said a minute ago. The attorney for MAPC will tell the council who they are representing, and everybody else should be able to ask questions. And it will be a limited number of people. It is important that you turn up. What Frank said is very important about your behavior during land use board meetings, because frankly, there is no upside to pissing off the land use board. You will have an opportunity to share your opinion, but it's not when the applicant is presenting their testimony through their witnesses. But there are wonderful ways to make statements that are questions, but you will only have 3 minutes. And don't all say the same thing, please.
And I'll just add that once the attorney is now representing our opposition, they have unlimited time because it is a very classic presentation of witnesses, and then there's cross-examination. The builder's attorney will cross-examine our experts as well. So it is quasi-legal at the Joint Land Use Board. It's purely political at your borough council or committee meetings, and you have the right to request transparency. Another question there? Please.
Yeah, hi. One of the topics that you started to address is storm drainage. And when the civil engineer was discussing this, and her testimony, she said they have enhanced storm drainage. And what I'm hearing is that they're going to have a service center for cars, and the runoff is going to be enhanced, meaning that it'll leave the project and go into the wetlands that are adjacent to the project. And they've also talked about a wall being constructed. And they didn't say what the wall is made of or how high it is, but when you put walls up in a wetland, don't you get flooding? So you're getting pollution and flooding into the headwaters. Do we have a hydrologist on staff?
Okay, so let me just rephrase the question. There's a concern about stormwater and overflow into the wetlands. There's the auto services center, and there will be things that will eventually leach into the wetlands. Is that about, okay? And so, yeah, there is a stormwater plan that has been presented. And in fact, one of our first cross-examination activities where I was shut down after 3 minutes, and I should not have been, was regarding what's called pervious pavers.
Yes.
The builder is representing that there will be more pervious pavement to allow stormwater filtration. We're questioning that. We're questioning that, all right? We are going to bring experts to question that. And ultimately, you have a very high water table there. And whether or not the substrate can handle that kind of filtration is of question. So the question of a hydrologist, we need one. And that's why we need your support. Another question. Yes, I'm sorry.
I'll yell. So let me just add that the builders, engineers, and lawyers are extremely adept at answering the DEP's questions perfectly. That's what they're trained for. That's why they're hired. So the DEP, what's in compliance? A wall, impervious paver, whatever it is, a certain percentage, that will reduce runoff by whatever percentage it is. Yes, that's a question, that's a checkbox. They check, yes, we've done that. Here are the drawings. Boom. DEP says, okay, approved. So that's why we need an attorney to then go back. We can't just stand up there and say, oh, no, because we're not considered the expert. We're not the attorney. So once we have one in place, that's why we need your help to hire those experts to then go back and review that and say, hey, hold on. Did you look at this? So already we've been speaking with those from Raritan Headwaters, other experts in the area, and you know, right away the questions start coming out from them. They are the experts. Has this been addressed? Has this been addressed? Has this been addressed? So,
and I want to augment on that. I'm Mark Bennett, and I've been working with this team as well. The builder and their team has presented the information in such a way that it's all there. But it's fragmented in different spots, so it's all been submitted, but it takes quite a bit of time to actually pull together A to B to C to D to see what's really happening. So they've submitted this information, it gets approved, but it's really not clear what's going on.
I just want to add, there are two pieces of documentation to your question. The July 15th and July 26th letter from your borough engineer to the builder. There were a lot of good questions in there. They have yet to be answered. So I urge you, if you're going to focus on any particular piece of data, focus on the July 15th, July 26th memorandum from your borough engineer. Please.
Where did you get that?
that gentleman right there, he's been very patient.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
I'm a little confused on the 133 for the units that are required.
Can't hear you at all.
I'm going to repeat the question. I'm going to repeat the question. Go ahead.
Is this something per year or total forever?
Okay, so yeah, I know some of this, and I'll actually, ask Julia to finish. So there's been back in March. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Question is on affordable housing units. Sorry, affordable housing units in this 133 requirement. So back in March of this year, a new law was passed regarding the revisiting of the quotas across the towns of New Jersey, including Mendham Borough, Mendham Township. And just a week or two ago, a report was issued as the first, stake in the ground from the state of New Jersey saying this is your requirement. That report, it's called the DCA, it's publicly available, I'm happy to share it with you. Give us your email address, I'll share it with you. That report says specifically, at this particular time, that the borough is required to add 133 new affordable units. Now, there may be a negotiation that takes place between borough leadership and their planner and their land use attorney and the judicial administrator at the county level about that. And they may present certain facts about land and pervious this and wetlands to maybe reduce that. But as of right now, it's 133 units.
So whatever we already have.
Is it a follow-up question? Go ahead.
Whatever we already have that's been done, it doesn't count towards that 133.
Yeah, I'm going to hand this off to Julie. Okay. Just repeat.
A little history, I think, will help with this question. The state of New Jersey has found that affordable housing is a constitutional obligation for communities to provide. That's the Mount Laurel decision. We are entering the 4th round of Mount Laurel. That is what was just announced the other day. Towns have accumulated obligations through the first 3 rounds. Some towns have done their best to try and meet the obligations that they have been challenged with. But eventually the Supreme Court really, frankly, the state of New Jersey created the Council on Affordable Housing, was known by its acronym as COA. Under Governor Christie, somebody local, basically COA was eliminated. It was no longer, and the Supreme Court lost patience with the state of New Jersey. And a non-profit organization, Fair Share Housing, was in essence given responsibility by the Supreme Court, with Supreme Court support, to oversee the obligations of each town to provide affordable housing. Some communities, like I pick a couple of local ones, Madison has a housing authority. Madison has had a housing authority for ages. Madison has affordable housing all over the community, which is in a way the ideal way to provide affordable housing. You don't want to create ghettos of poor people. That is hardly healthy community building. Harding Township created a ghetto, but it's a pretty nice ghetto. It's 100% affordable right next to the Moore Estate, which includes a lot of Morris Township's affordable housing. So there are different ways of going about this. We had, as Frank pointed out, a new law that was just passed, and we have entered the 4th round of affordable housing. So nobody's forgiven the previous obligations that they had, and you have some real buildup of need that was determined by the state in communities, some that have been absolutely determinedly not providing any affordable housing. And some of those communities are amongst those who have challenged the new law. If that's what you want, how you want to spend your municipal funds fighting lawsuits to keep affordable housing out of your town, that's, I suppose, one way to go about it. But I would argue it's a difficult thing, and affordable housing is expensive to provide. Nobody can suggest it isn't. And we have this bizarre system in the state of New Jersey where we pay for education through property taxes. So people don't want children living in their town because it's expensive to educate them. Again, what kind of community does that make you? So this is not a simple issue. Amelia is correct. You can do it 100% and do it right. But a lot of municipal officials don't think that their residents want that.
Hearing process and testimony, there has been a review, and there is a memorandum from the fire department raising some of the issues that we have raised regarding on-site circulation and having ingress and egress access to the building in the back. So those questions are on the table right now, and the builder needs to come up with a solution. It has to be acceptable to your joint land use board in the borough, and before they approve the plan. Again, I come back to this question to make sure that these questions are answered before approval and not a condition of approval, because it may not get done. Please.
It's just an addition to Mr. Gagliano's question. My question is, if, and I'm going to say, God forbid this happens, do we have a fire engine whose ladder will go up to this height? And if not, who pays for that?
Right, so you're raising actually two questions there. This is a question about the fire department having a ladder system that can reach. Mark has done some work in this area, so go ahead, Mark.
It looks like our ladder can reach it, but the access for that ladder from where the vehicle can be parked cannot reach all the apartments. So it is very constrained. Also, on this site, there is only one hydrant. There is only one hydrant.
We can pull from the wetlands.
Yeah.
So these are the questions that we're asking the builder. You only show one hydrant on your entire property. You've had a fire on the property in the past. How are you going to address that? Oh, we'll put in as many hydrants as you ask for. No, they should be presenting it.
Okay, other questions? Please, go ahead.
Who is the builder and have they built anywhere in the area?
Okay, so the builder's name is V.Fee. It was on the chart that had the Mendham crouched over in the building on top. I don't know the history of this builder. I know that the builder owns property on Route 10 and has been a resident of both the township, was a resident of the township at one point. That's all I really know. I don't know too much more about this particular individual or what projects they have been involved with. But classically, this is a LLC, the project is an LLC, and they are prosecuting this project. They're trying to maximize their profit. So you can't blame the builder for doing that. But again, coming back to the abuse of the COA law and the litigious nature of this builder, they are certainly putting a lot of pressure on your borough leadership and the joint land use board to approve this.
We can add a little bit about that. So the builder owns the shopping center.
Yes.
So I purchased it a while ago.
So he does live in the township.
So he lives in the township. So he's been here for a while. He does own the shopping center, and he owns Starbucks and he owns the bookstore.
Oh, we should boycott Starbucks.
Well, I'm not. I'm just.
What's wrong with that?
Okay.
Political action.
Yep. So, order, please. Get more.
If you would like more information about it, look up Tom Maioli, and he owns the Lexus dealership on Route 10, the Maserati dealership. He also owns, I believe, a Mercedes-Benz dealership, and he owns the Celebrity Vape Shop as well in the plaza. So slowly he's taking each of those businesses.
BMW Springfield as well.
BMW Springfield. So look up Tom Maioli and you'll find it.
Okay, so we have a question back there.
Yeah, Frank, to be clear, who approves or denies? Is it the land management board, or is it a judge? I mean, the testimony next week, is that in front of a judge? Or?
Okay, so, all right, so the question is who approves this? So where you are in the process,
Yeah.
right, is that this has gone through some litigation. It did go to the courts in Morris County. And now the Joint Land Use Board signed a consent order specifically regarding the cell tower variance requirement. And now you are in a quasi-legal hearing process that started in late August and will continue for weeks ahead to get to a point where the Joint Land Use Board will either approve or disapprove. And again, we don't want approvals on certain items as conditional approvals, right? You want to make sure those items get figured out before a vote. Please.
So just following on that, approval for the cell tower or the whole project?
Oh no, the question is this approval for the cell tower or the whole project? Cell tower's been approved for a long time. And this is for the 5-story, 75-unit complex.
So one more question then.
Please.
This letter from the borough engineer, 15th and 26th, How do we access that?
Yeah, so you can find those letters, the letters of the borough engineer, where are they? You can get them on the Mendham Borough Joint Land Use Board page. You will see all the documentation for this project, all the plans and all the responses from the fire department, for example, from your township, from your borough engineer as well. It's all there. We also have it, so I'm happy to take an email address and send you what we have, and that's thanks to Frank again, Frank Lupo. Yeah, please, go ahead.
So my name is Clay Turini. I've been doing this since 1997. Just to give you a little background, I was a federal prosecutor. I know how to cross-examine. I also spent 3 years on the zoning board of adjustment in East Hanover when I lived there. So I'm very familiar with this process. My question is, would your organization be able to help organize and you would say, sync up the cross-examination between what your lawyer is going to do and what the members of the audience would like to do?
Okay, this is a terrific question. Thank you very much. The question is, can our organization synchronize the needs and desires and interests of people like you with our cross-examination activity? That's what we're doing. We're doing it right now. We're meeting twice a week, Wednesday nights and Sunday nights. And we are working on draft cross-examination for right now, the next meeting. Somebody like yourself with this, thank you very much.
Make sure you all share your email address before you leave.
You can all be in on those meetings.
Yes, please, right here.
I just want to remind everyone that the Land Use Board has been appointed by the council.
No,
We
Mayor.
elected that council in there, and they're supposed to be working for us, even though it doesn't seem like that at some of these meetings, but they're supposed to be on our side too. My suggestion is we just got 2 brand new people on the council, who were just elected, and they're young and they're ready to talk to them separately also, not as a group, to see what their feelings are and how you think that they're going to go about it.
Please, would Bob Ritker, who used to be on the Joint Land Use Board, like to respond to that question?
I was chairman of that Joint Land Use Board when that case came to us. Hello, everyone. I am also the loser of that council race, and unfortunately. So if you have questions, I can help you with questions about this site. I can tell you about Daytop, which quite frankly, let me run one thing by everybody in the borough anyways. 133 unit number that we got would be reduced by the Daytop project if it went ahead by 76 units, okay? Just about a week ago at MASH, they put in for a sewerage permit application and were granted 24 connections. I can't tell you tonight if that's 24 new connections or not, but if it is new, that's 24 affordable units right there. That's 100 I just mentioned. We have 33 left. If this counts towards the previous application, or the previous number, then it's 15 units. So now we're at 115, we only have 18 left to go. I threw out a concept to the council and went on deaf ears, and it's called ADUs. So I want you to think about this, look this up. Affordable dwelling units. I'll give you a little bit of history. Somebody came to the Joint Land Use Board about a year and a half ago or 2. Or a concerned borough resident that had a daughter that needed help. She was a special needs child, and the parents wanted to keep that daughter on their property, but independently on the property, and wanted to have a separate dwelling unit above their garage. And they were basically build it out, and convert it to an apartment for their daughter. We granted them the permission, we gave them a variance to do that. But that's what an ADU is, an accessory dwelling unit. That would be an affordable unit. These would be onesie twosies that might happen around the borough, that might happen around the township. But it's a way to get your number, your affordable housing number down. And in a way that keeps the town the way it is, keeps people that you love nearby, and I think it's a pretty creative way to do it. I'm an architect, I work in Princeton. We do this in Princeton, it's been passed as an ordinance in Princeton, and we help design those ADUs around town. A couple here and a couple there. It's a nice way to do it. So I throw that out there. And a couple other things. The council doesn't actually appoint the board members, as I know. It's the mayor. And the mayor, I'll put it this way, I wasn't reappointed this past January. That's why I ran for council and unfortunately didn't make it, but that's, so anyway. A couple other clarifications. The testimony of the traffic engineer is actually complete. So the questions to the traffic engineer at this upcoming meeting have already been made by the actual joint land use board. The members supposedly are done. So it's up to the public. The public gets first crack on this Tuesday meeting that's coming up. So come armed with questions. And there are a lot.
And
Safety.
later they can provide their own witness.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to add more testimony.
And this 3-minute thing is bullshit, and I don't know who did. That is a mayoral mandate, and maybe that's why I'm not on the board, because I let the public speak their mind. And Frank can tell you if that's true or not. Frank? We did a lot. All right, that's it. Sorry.
Bob, may I ask you a question?
You can ask me any question you want.
So this accessory or affordable dwelling unit strategy,
Mhm.
how does it impact what's going on here? Because it's a 75-unit entity
That,
with 20% affordable.
Right.
So we could still have this entity, but just not as much affordable, right?
well, accessory dwelling units are individual properties that are granted the permission to have yet another dwelling unit on that property. Okay, so it could be, again, building over a garage, it could be a tiny house in the backyard. It could be a store that puts an apartment above it. There's a number of ways to get an accessory dwelling unit. And they can be rentable and they can be affordable units. So that wouldn't have any impact on the King's Shopping Center project at all. It's right now 75 units, 20% or 15 are affordable. Now, another thing to understand is what is affordable? You know, the Mendham median income is, I think, $188,000. Affordable starts at half that. These aren't the detritus, these are not the worst people on planet Earth, these are not the poor. These are your kids or your elderly parent or your retired friend. I mean,
Teachers and your policemen.
Yeah, it can be, you know,
Actually, I'm not sure about
a
policemen.
variety of professionals. It's not the worst thing in the world, so I just throw that out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Can I ask you a question, Bob?
Yes.
Just real quick. You mentioned that if they build this thing up on Daytop and it has 24 affordable housing units in it.
No. Daytop would have the possibility of 76 units.
Yeah, but how many? But
381 units or 750 people. It's going to impact the schools. We might need a traffic light down there.
So can I just? I mean, so the 20% ratio is really untenable in a town this size, right? We have how many houses do we even have in Mendham? Like 17, 1800?
I thought it was 1,500.
No, there's many more than that.
Well, no, I'm talking about the borough.
Yeah.
Because no offense to the town, but it seems like all these units are going in the borough.
Well, every town has a quota, and the township has their quota as well. It's very
So on
similar.
top of the 133 that the borough has.
Correct.
Yeah, so let's do the math, right? We got how many houses in the borough?
I'm going to say there's probably about 2,600.
Okay.
Matter of fact,
So
Pam, do you know?
No.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
So let's say, I looked it up, I Googled it earlier, it's till the 1800, but maybe our data's out.
Okay,
Maybe it's outdated. So 20%, you're gonna add 1,000, you're gonna double the number of units, like housing units in the borough.
No, understand the ADU scenario or the
No,
one.
that I understand. What
So
I'm
that
just,
drops, the
right.
20% is only, it's the motivation for a builder to build. If it was more than 20%, they wouldn't make enough money and they won't do
Yeah,
it.
I get that, but my point is, for the borough and/or the town to allow, like, to not attempt a strategy that upends this 20% route by greedy people like the guy that owns Starbucks, which we shouldn't go to anymore. Why? I mean, 1,000, I can't wrap my head around a 500 to 1,000 units that we're gonna build in town. That's 500 to 1,000 families that are gonna overtax what we have in place today. Is there a possibility, maybe this is a lawyer question, for the town to, for the borough and/or the town to raise that issue and say, we can't support that many, so we put forward a plan, whether it's the ADU plan, and we get an injunction on this dude, 500 units up on the top of that hill, or 380, that's insane.
I can't speak to this, but I believe that this is legislated from the state level, the 20%.
Hey, Bob, can I jump in?
No, I
Please,
understand.
Maya.
Yeah, no, because it's, like, so the towns, all of the towns in New Jersey, and it's public information, got
Yeah.
these new numbers, right? And that's what we're now grappling with, as I'm on the town committee, if anybody isn't, I'm Molly Barton. And by the way, I voted against that upzoning. When the group started, I was the one who voted against it. Anyway, we're grappling with now how to address it. What I've been talking about is working with a Habitat for Humanity, United Way Bergen County that does work all over the state. They do 100% affordable housing units, so it's a project, so it's a much, much smaller
Right.
development. So it's just that number versus you have to add on. You work with a nonprofit, you get money from various sources, and personally, I think that's a better way to go, so that you don't overtax your community, to your point. I did want to ask one other question though, Julia, because right now, the township is looking into Highlands conformance. We've done the initial assessment, we just sent it back to the Highlands Council. Is that a parallel track for the borough, maybe to pursue? Because I know the borough is not conforming, and they're not pursuing it, to my knowledge, at all.
That's correct.
So is that another way that you might be able to?
I will, so the question is, Mendham Township is pursuing conformance to the Highlands Regional Master Plan. When the new affordable housing legislation was approved, the New Jersey Highlands Coalition managed to get amendments made to it to recognize the importance of the Highlands. Because if we don't have water depended upon by 70% of the state's residents, because we've paved it all over, we're not helping the state. What is recognized now is that conforming towns in the Highlands, the land use that is steep, that is forested, that is prime recharge, soils, will no longer be counted towards your affordable housing. The challenge is that Mendham Borough doesn't have a lot of those lands. So Mendham Borough might think, so what's in it for us? I would argue that the regional master plan is just plain good planning, and you will get the benefit of protection from the state if somebody tries to break your zoning after you have conformed to the Highlands Regional Master Plan. It will not stop the requirement to build affordable housing. It may mitigate it, certainly in the case of towns like Mendham Township. The towns that really have the most to benefit from this are the towns in the west and northwestern parts of the Highlands, where there are largest amounts of open space still. The towns that are going to have a really difficult time are towns like Parsippany. Parsippany thought that they could grow without bringing children into town by building office complexes. Those office complexes are all empty. And, well, not all, that's an overstatement, but a lot of them are empty. And so they are conforming to mixed use. They're changing to mixed use. And mixed use, well, both the way the affordable housing rules are put together, when you bring jobs into town, you are supposed to also bring affordable units into town. Parsippany did not help itself with its approach to development. It's really pretty simple. The towns with the least ratables have the lowest taxes. That has been proven over and over again. And the short-sighted way is to say you're bringing in new development to address your taxes, but no, with the new development comes police and new roads and all kinds of obligations. They may not happen in the first 2 years, but they'll certainly happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So it's pretty simple. So in answer to your question, Amalia, it's more complicated for Mendham Borough. But I would still argue that the very best way for them to go forward is to conform to the Highlands Regional Master Plan.
Okay, other questions, please?
Could someone speak to the sewer capacity? What you showed up here was over a period of, whatever, 10, 15 years. Where are we today, and how is this going to impact that? And the last question, who's going to pay for that? Borough, township, taxes?
Okay, so the question is about sewage capacity, who's, and if something continues to grow and develop, who's going to pay for that? I cannot.
Where are we today?
Yeah, so I cannot claim to be an expert relative to the sewerage investments. I do know that a number of bonds were, floated to cover increasing the capacity of the borough sewer system. Bond ordinance, go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Foot's asleep, and sitting too long. When it comes to the borough sewer system, when the plant was originally built, it was built at a certain capacity.
Yes.
And that capacity planned on some growth to happen in the future. Over the years, the pipes got old, they got leaky, and all of a sudden more fluid started going to the plant than were being generated by the homes. And you may remember way back when somebody opened up an ice cream store and a little goat restaurant that was all disposable because they couldn't wash dishes because they didn't have enough capacity to treat the liquid that was being generated by the business. So the borough went into an I&I process where they televised all their pipes and they lined them so they no longer leaked.
That's inflow and infiltration.
Correct. Correct. So they eliminated those inflows and infiltrations, and as a result, it created additional capacity, not necessarily new capacity. The plant isn't any bigger than it was when it was built, but it has available capacity because they plugged up the leaks. So that allows for this development, which I just read today. The tennis court was using like 1,500 gallons a day, and this one's going to use like 14,000 gallons a day of sewage. But all the sewage users in the borough have been paying for these improvements where, yes, the net was, it could allow more hookups, but the plant isn't any bigger than it was when it was first built.
And the plant can't get any bigger. The plant is limited by New Jersey DEP emissions requirements, 400,000 gallons a day, no more.
Correct.